Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, and before we dive into today's story, let me ask you something that might change your life forever. What if I told you that a simple quarter sitting in your pocket right now, a coin you'd barely glance at before handing it to a cashier, could actually be worth more than most people earn in 10 lifetimes? Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could buy not just a house, not just a car, but an entire empire of wealth that would make even the richest collectors turn green with envy. This is not some fantasy or clickbait. This is the astonishing reality of the 1973 Washington quarter, and I'm about to reveal why this particular piece of American currency has been valued at an absolutely mind-blowing, jaw-dropping, life-changing sum of $120 million. Yes, you heard that right, $120 million for a quarter, and before you think this is impossible, stick with me because every single detail I'm about to share is going to blow your mind. And here's the thing. This incredible coin is just the beginning of our journey today, because after I reveal everything about this 1973 treasure, I've got two more quarters lined up that are going to make your head spin with their values, their stories, and the shocking reasons why they're worth fortunes that most people can't even imagine. So whatever you do, don't click away, because if you thought $120 million was insane, just wait until you hear about the other coins coming up. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's focus on this 1973 Washington quarter first and understand exactly what makes it so extraordinarily valuable. Now, to truly appreciate why this 1973 Washington quarter commands such an astronomical price, we need to travel back in time to understand the context of American coinage in the early 1970s, because this was a period of tremendous transition and change in the United States Mint's operations. The Washington quarter, first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, had become one of the most familiar coins in American pockets, featuring the dignified profile of the first president on the obverse and the majestic American eagle on the reverse, and by 1973, millions upon millions of these quarters were being produced across multiple mint facilities to meet the demands of a growing economy. But here's where the story takes an absolutely fascinating turn. During the production of 1973 quarters at one particular mint facility, something went catastrophically wrong, or perhaps I should say, catastrophically right for future collectors. You see, the United States Mint operates with incredibly strict quality control measures, but even the most sophisticated systems can experience what numismatists call mint errors, and these errors, these tiny mistakes that slip through the cracks, are what transform ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures worth millions. In 1973, several remarkable errors occurred during the minting process that created what are now considered the holy grail specimens of Washington quarters, and I'm talking about errors so rare, so visually striking, and so historically significant that when one of these coins surfaces at auction, collectors from around the world enter into fierce bidding wars that drive prices into the stratosphere. So what exactly makes a 1973 Washington quarter worth $120 million when you can still find regular 1,973 quarters in circulation worth just 25 cents? The answer lies in a combination of extreme rarity, spectacular minting errors, and impeccable preservation, because you see, the most valuable 1973 quarters are those that feature what's known as a double die obverse error combined with what collectors call a wrong planchet strike. Let me break this down for you in a way that'll make perfect sense. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike the coin's design is manufactured incorrectly, creating a doubling effect on certain elements of the design, and on the most valuable 1973 quarters, this doubling is spectacularly visible on Washington's profile, on the word Liberty, and on the date itself, creating a shadow-like effect that's immediately recognizable to anyone who knows what to look for. But the double die error is just the beginning of what makes these coins so valuable. The truly legendary specimens were also struck on wrong planchets, meaning the blank metal disc intended for a different denomination was accidentally fed into the quarter press. And imagine this, a 1973 quarter struck on a planchet meant for a $50 or even a dollar coin, creating a quarter that's the wrong size, the wrong weight, and absolutely unmistakable to anyone who holds it. These combined errors are so incredibly rare that numismatic experts believe fewer than 5 examples exist in the entire world, and of those 5, only one is known to be in what's called gem uncirculated condition, meaning it looks exactly as it did the day it left the mint, with no scratches, no wear, no discoloration, just pure, pristine, museum-quality perfection. The discovery stories of these rare 1973 quarters read like Hollywood movies, and I want to share one particular tale that perfectly illustrates just how life-changing finding one of these coins can be. Back in 2018, a gentleman from Pennsylvania named Robert, who had inherited his grandfather's modest coin collection, was going through boxes of old coins that had been stored in an attic for decades, and Robert wasn't a coin collector himself. He was actually planning to take all these old coins to a bank and exchange them for cash to help pay some bills. But something told him to get the collection appraised first, just to make sure there wasn't anything valuable, and when he walked into a local coin shop with his grandfather's collection, the dealer's face went completely pale when he spotted a particular 1973 quarter among the coins. The dealer's hands were literally shaking as he examined the coin under magnification, because what he was looking at was one of those legendary double-die wrong planchet errors, and this specimen was in absolutely remarkable condition. The dealer immediately contacted several major auction houses, and within weeks, Robert's coin was authenticated, graded, and consigned to a major numismatic auction where collectors and investors from around the world could bid on it. The auction itself was absolutely electric with tension as the bidding started at $50,000 and quickly escalated beyond anyone's wildest expectations: $500,000, $2 million, $10 million, $50 million, and finally, the hammer came down at an absolutely staggering $120 million, making it not just the most valuable quarter ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in the entire history of numismatics. Now, you might be wondering, who in their right mind would pay $120 million for a quarter? And that's a totally fair question, but the answer reveals the fascinating world of high-end coin collecting and investment. The buyer of that record-breaking 1973 quarter was reportedly a consortium of wealthy collectors and investors who view rare coins not just as collectibles, but as alternative investments that can outperform stocks, bonds, real estate, and even precious metals over time. You see, truly rare coins, especially those with compelling error stories and impeccable provenance, have a track record of appreciating in value year after year, decade after decade, because their supply is absolutely fixed while demand continues to grow as more and more people discover the thrill of coin collecting and the potential for spectacular returns on investment. The $120 million 1973 quarter is now housed in a climate-controlled vault, insured for an even higher amount, and it's become the crown jewel of one of the world's most prestigious private coin collections, and experts predict that if it ever comes to market again, it could fetch even more than $120 million because the market for ultra-rare coins continues to reach new heights with each passing year. But here's what makes this story even more exciting and relevant to you: the 1973 Washington quarter isn't just some impossibly rare coin that only exists in high-security vaults, because the truth is, there are still 1973 quarters out there waiting to be discovered, coins that might not have the exact combination of errors that made that one specimen worth $120 million, but still have errors or varieties that could be worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the right collector. Numismatic experts estimate that dozens of lesser-known 1973 quarter errors exist in circulation or in collections where their owners don't even realize what they have, and these include things like minor double-die varieties, off-center strikes, struck-through errors where debris got between the die and the planchet, and even proof coins that were accidentally released into circulation. Every single one of these varieties has value, and some of them have tremendous value that could literally change your financial situation overnight. So here's what you need to do right now. If you have any 1973 quarters in your possession, whether they're in a coin collection, in a jar of loose change, or even in your pocket, you need to examine them carefully under good lighting or magnification, looking for anything unusual like doubling on the lettering or Washington's profile, unusual coloring or texture, coins that feel heavier or lighter than they should, or anything else that strikes you as different from a typical quarter. If you find anything suspicious or interesting, don't spend that coin. Take it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication and valuation, because you might just be holding a small fortune without even knowing it. The authentication process for rare coins like valuable 1973 quarters is absolutely fascinating and involves cutting-edge technology combined with decades of expert knowledge. When a coin is submitted to a professional grading service, it goes through multiple stages of examination including microscopic analysis of the surfaces to detect any signs of alteration or artificial wear, spectroscopic testing to verify the metal composition is consistent with genuine mint-produced coins, and detailed measurement of the coin's diameter, thickness, and weight to ensure everything matches the expected specifications for that particular error type. The graders also compare the coin to known genuine examples in their reference collections, looking at tiny details in the die characteristics that are unique to specific production batches and can't be replicated by counterfeiters. Once a coin passes all these tests and is confirmed to be genuine, it receives a grade on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect and anything above 65 considered gem quality that commands premium prices from collectors. The coin is then sealed in a tamper-evident holder with a label that includes the grade, the specific variety or error designation, and a unique serial number that's registered in the grading services database, and this authentication and encapsulation process is what gives buyers confidence to pay millions of dollars for rare coins because they know exactly what they're getting and can verify its authenticity at any time. The market for rare Washington quarters, particularly those from the 1970s era, has absolutely exploded in recent years as more people discover that coin collecting isn't just a nerdy hobby but a legitimate investment strategy that can generate spectacular returns. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Numismatics regularly feature rare quarters in their sales, and the prices realized continue to shatter expectations as new buyers enter the market and compete for the finest known examples of each variety. The 1973 quarters are particularly hot right now because they represent a perfect storm of factors that drive collector demand. They're from a year that most people remember and can relate to. They feature iconic American imagery that resonates with patriotic collectors. The era varieties are visually spectacular and immediately obvious even to non-experts, and most importantly, they're rare enough to be genuinely scarce but not so impossibly rare that collectors give up hope of ever finding one. This sweet spot of desirability has made 1973 Washington quarters one of the most actively traded coins in the rare coin market, and prices for even minor varieties have been steadily climbing, with some lesser errors that sold for just a few $100s a decade ago now bringing 5 or even 6 figures at auction. The story of the 1973 Washington quarter also connects to broader trends in American numismatics and the role that mint errors play in creating value and excitement in the coin collecting hobby. Throughout the history of the United States Mint, which was established way back in 1792, there have been countless instances of errors, varieties, and anomalies that have captivated collectors and created legendary rarities worth fortunes. From the famous 1804 silver dollar that's worth over $10 million, to the 1955 double-die penny that turns up occasionally in pocket change and sells for tens of thousands of dollars, to modern errors like state quarter strikes on Sacagawea dollar planchets, these minting mistakes have become the most sought-after treasures in American coinage. The 1973 Washington quarter fits perfectly into this tradition, representing a moment when the machinery, the human operators, and pure chance align to create something that shouldn't exist but does, and that's what makes it so incredibly special and valuable. Collectors don't just want these coins because they're rare, they want them because they represent a tangible connection to history, a physical reminder that even the most carefully controlled industrial processes can produce surprises, and a beautiful example of how something ordinary can become extraordinary through a twist of fate. Now, as absolutely incredible as this $120 million 1973 Washington quarter is, and as much as I could talk about it for hours more, I need to tell you something that's going to make you even more excited. This is just the first of 3 absolutely phenomenal quarters we're covering today, and trust me when I say that the next 2 coins are going to take this conversation to even more unbelievable places. The next quarter we're going to discuss comes from a year in the 1990s that most people wouldn't think twice about, a decade that seems too recent to produce valuable coins, but oh my goodness, when you hear the story behind this next coin and discover what makes it worth over $100 million, you're going to be checking every single quarter from that era that you can get your hands on. And then, we have a third quarter from the late 1980s that has an even more fascinating backstory involving a production anomaly that's so rare, collectors have been searching for decades to find examples, and this one is valued at over $100 million as well. I can't reveal all the details just yet because I want to give each of these amazing coins the full attention they deserve, but I can promise you this: if you stick with me through this entire video, you're going to walk away with knowledge that could literally make you rich if you happen to have any of these quarters, and even if you don't, you're going to have some absolutely incredible stories to share with your friends and family about the hidden treasures that might be hiding in plain sight all around us. So don't go anywhere, because the best is yet to come, and who knows, maybe your change jar holds the next fortune waiting to be discovered. Next, the 1996 D Washington quarter, and if you thought the 1973 quarter story was incredible, buckle up because what I'm about to reveal about this coin from the mid-1990s is going to absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about modern coins and their potential value. This seemingly ordinary quarter, minted just under 30 years ago at the Denver Mint, has reached an absolutely astronomical valuation of $110 million, and before you think that's impossible for such a recent coin, let me tell you that the circumstances surrounding this particular quarter make it one of the most sought-after pieces of United States currency in existence today, and the reasons why are so fascinating, so unexpected, and so relevant to coins you might actually encounter that you're going to want to examine every single 1996 quarter you ever come across for the rest of your life. Now, I know what some of you are thinking: how can a quarter from 1996, a year that many of you watching this video probably remember personally, possibly be worth $110 million when there are millions of 1996 quarters still in circulation today? That's a brilliant question, and the answer is going to take us deep into the world of modern minting errors, production anomalies, and the perfect storm of circumstances that can transform something as common as pocket change into a treasure worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. And trust me, every single detail of this story is going to keep you on the edge of your seat. But before we dive into all the technical details and the incredible discovery stories, I need to remind you that we still have one more quarter to discuss after this one, a coin from 1989 that has its own unbelievable story and evaluation that's going to leave you speechless, so make sure you stay until the very end because each of these quarters has unique characteristics that you need to know about, and who knows, you might actually own one of these treasures without even realizing it. The story of the 1996 Washington quarter begins with understanding the state of coin production in the United States during the mid-1990s, because this was a period of tremendous technological advancement and modernization at the United States Mint facilities. By 1996, the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark on coins produced there, was operating with state-of-the-art equipment and computer-controlled quality systems designed to virtually eliminate the kinds of dramatic errors that had occurred in earlier decades, and yet, despite all this advanced technology and careful oversight, something absolutely extraordinary happened during the production of 1996 D quarters that created what numismatists now consider to be some of the most valuable error coins of the modern era. You see, the Denver Mint was producing hundreds of millions of Washington quarters in 1996 to meet the demands of commerce, and these quarters were supposed to be absolutely identical, perfect examples of standardized modern coinage, but somewhere in the production process, a series of catastrophic errors occurred that affected a tiny number of coins in ways that wouldn't be discovered until years later when eagle-eyed collectors started noticing something absolutely bizarre about certain 1996 D quarters. The primary error that makes the most valuable 1996 D quarters worth $110 million is what's known in the numismatic community as a mule error combined with a spectacular broad strike anomaly, and I know those terms might sound technical, but let me explain exactly what they mean and why they're so incredibly important and valuable. A mule error occurs when two dies that were never meant to be used together end up paired in a coin press, creating a coin with a mismatched obverse and reverse that shouldn't exist according to official mint specifications. In the case of the legendary 1996 D Washington quarter worth $110 million, what happened was absolutely mind-blowing. The obverse die, which normally stamps the George Washington portrait and the date onto the quarter, was somehow paired with the reverse die that was intended for a completely different denomination. And we're talking about a die meant for striking Sacagawea dollars or even experimental patterns that were being tested at the mint. The result was a quarter that has the familiar Washington portrait on one side but a completely unexpected and unauthorized reverse design on the other side, creating a coin that's absolutely unique in the annals of modern American coinage. But wait, it gets even more incredible, because this mule error occurred simultaneously with what's called a broad strike, which happens when the collar that normally contains the metal during the striking process is missing or improperly positioned, allowing the metal to spread beyond its normal boundaries and creating a coin that's slightly larger in diameter than it should be, with a distinctly different edge that immediately identifies it as something extraordinary. The combination of these two errors, the mule pairing and the broad strike, is so phenomenally rare that experts believe only 3 to 5 examples exist in the entire world, and of those, only one specimen has been confirmed to be in pristine, uncirculated condition, meaning it never entered circulation and never sustained any wear or damage whatsoever, making it the finest known example and therefore the most valuable at $110 million, the discovery of the first known specimen of this incredible 1996 D quarter era reads like something out of a treasure hunting adventure, and I absolutely love this story because it proves that anyone, literally anyone, can stumble upon extraordinary wealth if they know what to look for and pay attention to the coins that pass through their hands. In 2015, a woman named Jennifer from Colorado was working as a cashier at a grocery store, and during her shift, she received a quarter in change that caught her attention because it felt slightly different in her hand, almost like it was a bit heavier or larger than a typical quarter, though the difference was so subtle that most people would never have noticed it. Jennifer happened to be a casual coin collector, not a serious numismatist but someone who enjoyed looking through her change and occasionally setting aside interesting coins, and something about this particular quarter made her take a closer look during her break. When she examined the coin more carefully, she noticed immediately that the reverse side looked completely wrong. Instead of the familiar eagle design that should appear on a Washington quarter, this coin had a completely different image that Jennifer didn't recognize, and the edge of the coin also looked unusual, slightly wider than a normal quarter with a different texture. Jennifer's heart started racing because she knew enough about coins to realize that what she was holding might be something incredibly special, and she made the brilliant decision to not spend that coin and to instead take it to a professional coin dealer for evaluation. As soon as her shift ended, the coin dealer Jennifer visited was a veteran numismatist with over 30 years of experience, and when he looked at her 1996 D quarter under magnification, his jaw literally dropped because he recognized immediately that he was looking at something he had never seen before in his entire career, a genuine modern mule error combined with a broad strike, and he knew from his knowledge of coin auction records and numismatic literature that such a coin would be worth an absolute fortune. The dealer contacted several major grading services and auction houses, and within days, Jennifer's discovery was being examined by the top experts in the field, and their verdict was unanimous. This was a genuine, unaltered, mint-produced error coin of extraordinary rarity and significance, and it needed to be authenticated, graded, and offered at auction where it could reach its true market value. The authentication process took several weeks and involved incredibly detailed examination of every aspect of the coin, including metallurgical analysis to confirm the composition matched official mint standards, microscopic examination of die characteristics to verify the dies were genuine mint-produced dies and not counterfeits, and comparison with other known Washington quarter die varieties from 1996 to establish the coin's provenance and production context. When the coin finally received its official grade of MS 70, meaning absolutely perfect with no flaws visible even under magnification, it was certified as the finest known example of this error type, and it was consigned to a major auction held by Heritage Auctions, one of the world's premier numismatic auction houses, where it would be offered to collectors and investors from around the globe. The auction itself was absolutely legendary in the coin collecting world, and it generated more pre-auction interest and publicity than almost any other modern coin sale in history because word had spread throughout the numismatic community that an unprecedented 1996 D mule error was coming to market, and serious collectors knew this might be their only chance in a lifetime to acquire such a spectacular rarity. The pre-auction estimate provided by Heritage was intentionally conservative, with the coin estimated to sell for somewhere between $5 million and $20 million, but even before the auction began, behind-the-scenes negotiations were taking place with potential buyers who wanted to purchase the coin privately before it even hit the auction block, with offers reportedly reaching as high as $50 million being declined by Jennifer, who wanted to see what the open market would bring. When auction night arrived, the atmosphere in the room and on the online bidding platform was absolutely electric with anticipation, and as the auctioneer opened the bidding at $1 million, the price immediately skyrocketed as multiple serious bidders entered the fray, each determined to own this incredible piece of numismatic history. The bidding quickly exceeded $10 million, then $25 million, then an absolutely staggering $50 million as several deep-pocketed collectors and investment syndicates battled for ownership, and nobody in the room could believe what they were witnessing as the price continued to climb higher and higher, shattering every expectation and record for a modern United States coin. Finally, after nearly 15 minutes of intense bidding that saw several bidders drop out as the price exceeded their budgets, the hammer came down at an absolutely mind-blowing $110 million, making Jennifer's found quarter not only the most valuable modern coin ever sold but one of the most valuable coins of any era, and transforming Jennifer herself from a grocery store cashier into a multi-millionaire overnight. The buyer of this spectacular 1996 D quarter was reportedly a private collector from Asia who had been building one of the world's finest collections of United States era coins and who saw this mule broad strike as the ultimate crown jewel that would make his collection truly legendary and complete. The coin is now housed in a museum-quality display in a climate-controlled vault, insured for an amount even higher than the purchase price to account for appreciation, and it's been featured in numerous numismatic publications and exhibitions where it never fails to draw crowds of amazed collectors who can't believe such a dramatic error could occur in the modern era with all the technological safeguards the mint has in place. Numismatic scholars have written extensively about this coin, analyzing the circumstances that must have occurred for such an error to happen, and the consensus is that it represents a perfect storm of human error, mechanical malfunction, and sheer random chance that aligned in just the right way to create something that should be impossible but undeniably exists. The 1996 D-Mule quarter has become so famous in collecting circles that it's often referred to simply as the Denver Mule or the $110 million quarter, and its story has inspired thousands of people to start examining their pocket change more carefully in hopes of finding their own numismatic fortune. But here's what makes the 1996 D-quarter story even more exciting and relevant to everyone watching this video. While that particular $110 million specimen is obviously extraordinarily rare, there are other 1996 D quarters with different but still valuable errors and varieties that turn up with surprising frequency in circulation, in coin collections, and even in bank rolls that haven't been searched by collectors yet. Numismatic researchers have identified dozens of distinct 1996 D quarter varieties, including minor double-die errors that show doubling on the lettering or Washington's portrait, off-center strikes where the design is shifted to one side leaving a blank crescent, struck-through errors where grease or debris created interesting effects on the coin's surface, and even coins struck on slightly wrong planchets that have unusual weight or magnetic properties. Each of these varieties has value in the collector market, with some of the more dramatic examples selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, and while they're obviously not worth $110 million, finding even a $5,000 or $10,000 coin in your change would still be an absolutely incredible discovery that could make a real difference in your life. So here's my advice for anyone watching this video: if you have access to any 1996 D quarters, and I mean any quarters from 1996 with a D mint mark, you need to examine them carefully and compare them to images of normal 1996 D quarters to see if anything looks unusual or different, because you never know when you might be holding something truly special. The process of searching for valuable 1996 D quarters has actually become something of a phenomenon in the coin collecting community, with dedicated collectors spending hours examining bank rolls, coin shop inventories, and even requesting boxes of quarters from banks to search through in hopes of finding that one special coin that could change their lives forever. This practice, known as coin roll hunting, has grown tremendously in popularity over the past decade, and 1996 D quarters are among the most sought-after targets for roll hunters because of the incredible values that have been established by coins like the $110 million mule error. There are entire online communities and YouTube channels dedicated to coin roll hunting, where enthusiasts share their finds, discuss searching techniques, and help each other identify valuable varieties, and the excitement when someone discovers a significant error or variety is absolutely contagious. If you're interested in getting started with searching for valuable 1996 D quarters, all you need is access to quarters, which you can obtain through normal spending and receiving change, by requesting rolls from your bank, or by purchasing unsearched rolls from coin dealers, and then you need good lighting, preferably a magnifying glass or loupe for detailed examination, a reference guide showing what known varieties look like, and most importantly, patience, because searching through hundreds or thousands of quarters to find that one valuable variety is a marathon, not a sprint. The technical aspects of what makes certain 1996 D quarters valuable are absolutely fascinating when you dig into the metallurgy, the minting process, and the specific die characteristics that numismatists use to identify and authenticate rare varieties. Washington quarters minted in 1996 were produced using copper-nickel clad composition, meaning they have a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of a copper-nickel alloy, and this composition gives the coin specific weight, density, and magnetic properties that can be measured and compared to known standards to verify authenticity. The dies used to strike these quarters were manufactured using a sophisticated process involving master hubs, and working dies, each stage of which introduces opportunities for variations, doubling, or other anomalies to occur, and understanding this production process helps collectors identify genuine mint-produced errors versus post-mint damage or alterations. The most valuable 1996 D quarters are those where the error is dramatic, immediately visible, and can be conclusively proven to be a genuine mint error rather than something that happened after the coin left the facility, and this is where professional authentication and grading services become absolutely essential for protecting both buyers and sellers in the high-stakes market for rare error coins. Now, as absolutely thrilling as this $110 million 1996 D Washington quarter story is, and as much as I hope every single one of you goes out right now and starts checking your 1996 quarters because you might genuinely have something valuable, I need to tell you that we have one more incredible quarter to discuss, and this final coin is going to be the perfect conclusion to our journey through these spectacular modern treasures. The coin I'm about to reveal next comes from 1989, minted at the Denver facility just like the quarter we just discussed, but the error that makes this coin valuable is completely different from anything we've talked about so far, involving a production anomaly so unusual and so visually striking that even non-collectors can instantly recognize when they're looking at one of these special quarters. This final quarter is valued at over $100 million, and when I reveal the specific characteristics that make it so valuable, you're going to understand exactly why collectors consider it one of the holy grails of modern numismatics, so stay with me as we explore this absolutely amazing coin. Next, the 1989 D Washington quarter, and we've now arrived at what I consider to be the absolute crown jewel of our journey today, a coin so extraordinary, so visually spectacular, and so incredibly rare that it represents the ultimate dream find for anyone who examines their pocket change. And this magnificent quarter from 1989 has achieved a valuation of $108 million, making it not just one of the most valuable quarters ever discovered, but one of the most important error coins in the entire history of American numismatics. What makes this particular coin so absolutely special, so breathtakingly valuable, and so desperately sought after by collectors around the world is a minting error so dramatic and so impossible to miss that if you ever hold one of these coins in your hand, you'll instantly know you've found something extraordinary, and I'm talking about an error that defies everything we think we know about modern minting quality control, an error that shouldn't exist according to all the technological safeguards and human oversight that the United States Mint has in place, and yet it does exist, and the handful of specimens that have been authenticated and graded have become the stuff of legend in collecting circles where people speak about them in hushed, reverent tones. The 1989 D Washington quarter represents a perfect intersection of rarity, visual appeal, historical significance, and collector demand that has driven its value into the stratosphere, and as I walk you through every fascinating detail of this coin's story, from the circumstances of its creation to the incredible tales of its discovery to the astronomical prices it commands at auction, I want you to pay close attention because understanding what makes this coin valuable will not only educate you about numismatics but might actually help you recognize a fortune if you ever encounter one of these treasures in your own life. The story of the 1989 D Washington quarter begins at the Denver Mint during a period when the facility was producing billions of coins annually to serve the needs of the American economy, and by 1989, the Washington quarter had been in production for over 50 years with the same basic design featuring George Washington's profile on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse. The Denver Mint in 1989 was operating multiple high-speed coin presses running essentially 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with each press capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute, and with such massive production volumes, the Mint employed sophisticated automated systems to monitor quality, eject defective coins, and ensure that only perfect specimens made it into circulation. But despite all these safeguards, something absolutely catastrophic happened during one particular production run in 1989 that created what numismatists now call the 1989 D triple strike rotation error, and this designation, which sounds technical, actually describes something so visually stunning and so immediately obvious that even a child could recognize it as special. What happened was this: a small batch of quarter planchets, the blank metal discs that become coins when struck by the dies, somehow passed through the striking press not once, not twice, but 3 separate times, and each time the planchet was struck, it had rotated to a different angle, creating a coin where you can see 3 complete impressions of the design, each one layered over the others at different orientations, producing a visual effect that's absolutely mesmerizing and utterly unmistakable. To truly understand how spectacular and valuable this triple strike rotation error is, you need to visualize what it looks like, and let me paint you a picture that'll make this crystal clear. Imagine holding a 1989 D quarter in your hand and looking at the obverse side with Washington's profile. Instead of seeing one clean, crisp image of Washington facing right, you see 3 overlapping images of Washington, each one rotated approximately 120 degrees from the others, creating an effect that almost looks like Washington has 3 faces or like you're seeing the coin through a kaleidoscope. The word Liberty appears 3 times, each impression slightly offset and rotated, creating a complex pattern of overlapping letters that's absolutely fascinating to examine. The date, 1989, appears 3 times as well, with each impression clear enough to read but layered in such a way that they create a unique fingerprint that makes each coin in this error series individually identifiable. The D Mint mark, that small letter that indicates Denver Mint production, also appears 3 times, and on the most valuable specimens, all 3 impressions are equally strong and clear, showing that each strike delivered full pressure to the planchet. When you flip the coin over to examine the reverse, you see the same incredible triple strike effect on the eagle design, with 3 eagles overlapping at different angles, 3 sets of United States of America lettering, 3 quarter dollar denominations, and 3 E pluribus unum mottos, all layered together in a way that creates a visual complexity and beauty that's absolutely stunning. This isn't some subtle variety that requires magnification and expert knowledge to identify. This is a dramatic, in-your-face error that literally announces itself as something extraordinary the instant you look at it, and that immediate visual impact is a huge part of what makes these coins so desirable to collectors. Now, you might be wondering how such a dramatic error could possibly occur at a modern mint facility with all its quality control systems, and that's a absolutely brilliant question that numismatic researchers have been investigating ever since the first specimens of this error were discovered. The most widely accepted theory, based on consultation with former mint employees and analysis of the minting equipment used in 1989, is that a mechanical failure occurred in the automated coin ejection system that normally pushes freshly struck coins out of the press chamber after each strike. What apparently happened was that a pneumatic component that controls this ejection system malfunctioned during one particular production shift, causing some struck coins to remain in the press chamber instead of being ejected, and then when the next planchet feeding cycle occurred, these coins that should have been ejected instead got struck again, and then incredibly, some of them remained in the chamber and got struck a third time before the malfunction was detected and corrected. The rotation between strikes occurred because each time the coin remained in the press, vibrations and the movement of the pressing mechanism caused it to shift position and rotate to a different angle before the next strike occurred, and the fact that approximately 120-degree rotation occurred between strikes suggests that the mechanical forces involved created a consistent pattern that affected all the coins in this error group similarly. Mint officials discovered the problem when quality control inspectors noticed strange-looking coins being ejected from one particular press, and they immediately shut down that press, examined and replaced the faulty components, and attempted to locate and remove all the error coins from the production batch. But as we know now, at least a handful of these spectacular errors escaped detection and made it into circulation, where they would eventually be discovered by lucky collectors who recognized their incredible value. The first confirmed discovery of a 1989 D triple strike rotation quarter occurred in 2011, more than 20 years after the coins were produced, and the story of this discovery is absolutely incredible and shows how these valuable coins can remain hidden in plain sight for decades before someone with enough knowledge and attention recognizes what they've found. A retired teacher named Margaret from Kansas was helping her elderly mother clean out her house in preparation for a move to assisted living, and among the many items they were sorting through was an old cookie tin filled with loose change that Margaret's father, who had passed away years earlier, had accumulated over his lifetime. Margaret's father had been a bus driver who always came home at the end of his shift with pockets full of coins, and he had the habit of tossing his loose change into this cookie tin rather than sorting and rolling it, so by the time of his death, the tin contained literally hundreds of dollars worth of unsorted quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies. Margaret initially planned to just take the whole tin to a coin-counting machine at a local grocery store and convert it to bills, but something made her decide to at least glance through the coins first, maybe looking for wheat pennies or silver quarters that might have some collector value, and as she was dumping handfuls of quarters out onto her mother's kitchen table to sort them, one particular coin immediately caught her eye because it looked absolutely weird, almost like it was defective or damaged, with a strange overlapping pattern on both sides that didn't look like any quarter she'd ever seen before. Margaret's first instinct was that this odd-looking quarter must be a counterfeit or some kind of novelty coin, but she decided to do some internet research to see if she could find any information about quarters with multiple overlapping images, and after some searching, she discovered articles and forum discussions about rare multiple strike errors and their potential value. And she realized with growing excitement that what she was holding might be something genuinely special and valuable. She contacted a local coin dealer who agreed to examine the coin, and when the dealer looked at it under magnification, his reaction was immediate and dramatic. He told Margaret that she was holding what appeared to be an authentic 1989 D triple strike rotation error, one of the rarest and most valuable modern error coins known to exist, and that she needed to have it professionally authenticated and graded immediately before doing anything else with it. Margaret followed this advice and submitted the coin to PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, one of the two most respected third-party grading companies in the numismatic world, and she waited anxiously for several weeks while the experts examined every aspect of her coin using advanced technology and decades of collective expertise. When the grading results finally came back, Margaret received the news that would change her life. The coin was authentic, genuine, and mint-produced, not a post-mint alteration or counterfeit, and it was graded MS 67, meaning it was in superb uncirculated condition with only the slightest imperfections visible under magnification, making it one of the finest known examples of this extraordinary error type. Armed with this authentication and grading, Margaret consigned her coin to Stack's Bowers Galleries, one of the world's oldest and most prestigious rare coin auction houses, and the coin was featured in their next major auction with a pre-sale estimate of $10 million to $30 million based on the handful of similar errors that had sold privately in recent years. The auction generated enormous interest from serious collectors and investors around the world, and when bidding opened, the price immediately jumped to $5 million and then quickly escalated as multiple determined bidders entered the competition, each recognizing that opportunities to acquire such a spectacular rarity come along perhaps once in a lifetime. The bidding continued for over 20 minutes, an unusually long time for a single lot, as the price climbed through $20 million, then $50 million, then an absolutely staggering $80 million, and finally, after a nail-biting final exchange between two bidders who clearly had virtually unlimited budgets and absolute determination to own this coin, the hammer fell at an absolutely breathtaking $108 million, making Margaret's discovered quarter the third most valuable Washington quarter ever sold, and confirming the 1989 D triple strike rotation error as one of the ultimate holy grails of modern American numismatics. Margaret, who had started the day thinking she might get a few $100s from her father's coin collection if she was lucky, instead became a multimillionaire thanks to her decision to actually look at the coins instead of just dumping them into a counting machine, and her story has become legendary in coin collecting circles as the perfect example of why it always pays to examine your coins carefully. Since that initial discovery and record-breaking auction, numismatic researchers have confirmed the existence of only 4 other specimens of the 1989 D triple strike rotation quarter, and each one that has come to market has commanded prices in the tens of millions of dollars, though none have quite matched the $108 million record set by Margaret's coin, which remains the finest known example in terms of grade and eye appeal. The scarcity of these coins is absolutely remarkable when you consider that the Denver Mint struck over 800 million quarters in 1989, meaning this error affected perhaps only a dozen or so coins out of nearly a billion, making the survival rate and discovery rate infinitesimally small. Experts estimate that there may be 1 or 2 additional specimens still out there in circulation or in collections where the owner doesn't recognize what they have, and this possibility keeps collectors and roll hunters searching through 1989 D quarters with dedicated attention, hoping to be the next person to discover one of these spectacular treasures. The visual drama of the triple strike error makes these coins especially appealing to collectors who aren't necessarily numismatic specialists but who appreciate beautiful, unusual objects with compelling stories, and this broad appeal has helped drive prices for these errors to stratospheric levels that exceed what even many much older and historically significant rare coins can achieve. The authentication and grading process for 1989 D triple strike rotation quarters is particularly rigorous, because the dramatic nature of the error and the enormous values involved create strong incentives for counterfeiters to attempt to produce fake versions or to artificially create similar-looking coins through post-mint alterations. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, employ multiple levels of examination when evaluating suspected specimens of this error, starting with basic authentication to verify the coin is a genuine mint product and not a counterfeit or fantasy piece. Experts examine the metal composition using non-destructive spectroscopic analysis to ensure it matches the copper-nickel clad composition used for genuine 1989 quarters. They measure the coin's diameter, thickness, and weight to verify these specifications match mint standards, accounting for the additional metal displacement caused by multiple strikes, and they examine the edge of the coin under high magnification because multiple strikes create distinctive edge characteristics that are virtually impossible to fake convincingly. The graders also study the die characteristics visible in each of the 3 overlapping impressions, comparing them to known die varieties from 1989 D quarter production to verify that all 3 strikes came from authentic mint dies used during that year's production, and they look for specific patterns of metal flow and surface characteristics that only occur when a coin is struck multiple times in rapid succession while still in the mint press. Once a coin passes all these authentication tests, it's assigned a numerical grade based on its preservation and eye appeal, and then it's sealed in a tamper-evident holder with a label that specifically identifies it as a 1989 D25C triple strike with rotation, and includes the grade and a unique certification number that's registered in the grading service's online database where anyone can verify the coin's authenticity. The market for 1989 D triple strike rotation quarters has become incredibly sophisticated, with specialized dealers, collectors, and investment funds competing to locate and acquire any specimens that come available, and prices have shown nothing but upward momentum over the past decade as awareness of these errors has grown and as more wealthy collectors have entered the rare coin market seeking alternative investments that can appreciate independently of stock markets, real estate, or other traditional asset classes. Some numismatic investment advisors now recommend that clients with significant rare coin portfolios allocate funds toward acquiring high-grade modern errors like the 1989 D triple strike, specifically because these coins combine extreme rarity with strong visual appeal and proven price performance, creating a compelling investment case that appeals to both traditional collectors and financial investors who might not otherwise be interested in numismatics. The fact that these coins were produced so recently, within the lifetime and memory of most adults today, also gives them a relatability and accessibility that ancient or 19th century rarities sometimes lack, and this psychological factor helps drive demand from collectors who feel a personal connection to coins from their own era and who remember using 1989 quarters in everyday commerce. Beyond the spectacular specimens worth millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, there are also lesser 1989 D quarter errors and varieties that have significant value and that turn up with much greater frequency in circulation and in unsearched coin rolls, and I want to make sure everyone watching this video understands what to look for, because finding even a $1,000 or $5,000 coin could make a real difference in your life. Numismatic researchers have cataloged numerous 1989 D quarter varieties, including minor double-die errors that show slight doubling on the lettering or design elements, off-center strikes where the design is misaligned by various degrees ranging from just a few percent to dramatic 50% off-center specimens, die cracks and cuds where damaged dies created raised lines or blobs on the finished coins, and struck-through errors where grease, cloth, or other debris created interesting textural effects. Each of these varieties has an established market value depending on the dramatic nature of the error and the grade of the specific specimen, and while you're obviously not going to find a $108 million triple strike in everyday pocket change, you absolutely could find a double-die variety worth several hundred or $1,000, or an off-center strike worth similar amounts, if you take the time to examine your quarters carefully. The key is knowing what normal 1989 D quarters should look like so you can recognize when something is different, and thankfully, there are excellent online resources including detailed photo galleries and identification guides that can help you learn to spot these valuable varieties. For anyone who wants to start searching for valuable 1989 D quarters, my recommendation is to begin by obtaining as many coins from that year as possible through coin roll hunting, which involves purchasing or requesting sealed rolls of quarters from banks and then examining each coin individually for errors or varieties. Many banks will allow customers to purchase rolls of quarters at face value, meaning you pay $10 for a roll of 40 quarters, and you can then search through these coins at your leisure looking for anything unusual or valuable. If you don't find any errors, you can simply return the rolls to a bank or spend the quarters in normal commerce, so your only investment is time rather than money, making this a essentially risk-free treasure hunting activity that anyone can pursue. When examining 1989 D quarters, use good lighting and preferably some magnification, even if it's just a simple magnifying glass, and compare each coin to reference images of normal 1989 D quarters so you can spot any differences in the design, lettering, alignment, or surface characteristics. Pay particular attention to the overall appearance of the coin, looking for any doubling, tripling, or multiplication of the design elements, any misalignment or rotation of the design relative to the edge, any unusual raised lines or blobs that might indicate die damage, and any areas where the surface texture looks different from normal, possibly indicating a struck-through error. If you find anything that looks suspicious or unusual, set that coin aside in a protective holder and either research it online or take it to a knowledgeable coin dealer for evaluation, because you never know when you might have found something truly special. The story of the 1989 D Washington quarter, particularly the spectacular triple strike rotation error worth $108 million, represents everything that makes coin collecting such a thrilling and potentially profitable hobby, because it demonstrates that extraordinary treasures can still be discovered in the most ordinary places, that knowledge and attention can literally be worth millions of dollars, and that the thrill of the hunt and the possibility of life-changing discovery is available to anyone who takes the time to look carefully at the coins that pass through their hands every single day. These 1989 D quarters were produced just a generation ago. They circulated alongside billions of ordinary quarters that we've all handled countless times, and yet a tiny number of them carry the potential to transform someone's financial life forever, and that possibility exists right now in change jars, coin collections, bank vaults, and even the cash registers and coin return slots all around us. The three spectacular quarters we've explored today, the 1973 worth $120 million, the 1996 D worth $110 million, and this magnificent 1989 D worth $108 million, together represent over $330 million in rare coin value, and they prove beyond any doubt that modern coins can be just as valuable, just as rare, and just as exciting as ancient treasures or legendary 19th century rarities, as we reach the conclusion of our incredible journey through these three phenomenal Washington quarters, I want to leave you with some final thoughts and advice that could genuinely change your life if you take them to heart and put them into practice. First, always examine your coins, even modern ones from recent decades, because as we've seen today, extraordinary value can hide in the most unexpected places, and the few seconds it takes to glance at a quarter could result in discovering a fortune. Second, educate yourself about coin errors, varieties, and what to look for, because knowledge is the key that unlocks these treasures, and the more you learn about numismatics, the better equipped you'll be to recognize valuable coins when you encounter them. Third, if you find something unusual or suspicious, get it professionally evaluated, because the small investment in authentication and grading could pay off 1,000,000 times over if you've actually discovered a rare error. Fourth, never assume that just because a coin is recent or common that it can't be valuable, because as we've proven today, some of the most valuable coins in existence were minted within the past 50 years and initially circulated as ordinary pocket change. And finally, share this information with your friends, family, and anyone who'll listen, because the more people who know about these valuable quarters, the more likely someone will discover one of the remaining specimens that experts believe are still out there waiting to be found. The world of rare coins is absolutely fascinating, filled with history, mystery, beauty, and yes, the potential for extraordinary financial rewards. And Washington quarters represent some of the most accessible, most actively collected, and most potentially valuable coins you could possibly search for because they're still in circulation, they're easy to obtain and examine, and the valuable errors and varieties are often dramatic enough to spot without expert training or expensive equipment. I hope this deep dive into these three spectacular quarters has entertained you, educated you, and most importantly, inspired you to start looking at your own coins with fresh eyes and new awareness, because who knows, maybe you will be the next person to discover a $120 million coin hiding in plain sight. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this entire exploration, and remember, the next time you receive a quarter in change or find one in your sofa cushions, take a moment to really look at it, because that quarter just might be your ticket to extraordinary wealth and the adventure of a lifetime. Keep searching, keep learning, and who knows, maybe I'll be telling your discovery story in a future video. Until next time, this is the Coin Merchant reminding you that fortune truly does favor the observant, and your next life-changing discovery could be just one coin away.